That's some way to start a weekday double-header, isn't it? RCB at one point looked like they were coasting to victory. They had Punjab in all sorts of troubles. But Jitesh Sharma nearly pulled something magical out of the bag, took Punjab deep in the game. Eventually, they fall short by 24 runs as RCB emerged victorious on the day Virat Kohli is captain again after quite a while. Welcome to Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Timeout. Good evening to Tom Moody and Amol Muzumdar. Not a bad way to spend a Thursday afternoon, Tom.
Yeah, good way. It wasn't. It was an interesting game in the sense that it sort of had its moments where you thought RCB's innings was going to be up around that 180, 190 mark, and then it stumbled. And then Punjab's batting performance, I'm sure they'll spend some time reviewing that, because that was a scattergun approach, is probably how I'd put it.
Amol?
I think they have got themselves to blame. It was well within their grasp. If you see finally what it is, 24 runs victory for RCB, and they've not played 10 deliveries. So there you go. That's your answer there. If you would have batted a little deeper, probably somebody like this. This is the game where you need your Shah Rukh Khans or even Sam Curran to chip in with those important runs down the order, and I think they fell short. They've got themselves to blame.
And what that does is it adds to that whole mid-table logjam that we referred to at the start of this game. Both Punjab and RCB now find themselves on 3 wins and 3 losses after their first 6 games. We'll also be building up to Delhi Capitals versus Kolkata Knight Riders, which is the second game this Thursday. There is a delay there. It's been raining in Delhi, and what we do know is that there will be an inspection at 7:30 p.m. IST, so definitely a delay in the toss and the start of that game. Let's hope it's not a very long late night for us. We'll get you more on that game in just a bit, but let's talk about RCB's win. Hands down, Tom, the architect of that bowling effort, Mohammad Siraj.
Yeah, he blew them away, didn't he? It was a real masterclass of fast bowling from Siraj. He continues to have that impact early with a new ball. He's found a perfect length. His control of line is brilliant, and he just looks a class above. When he's got the ball in hand, he looks a class above. Whenever just when the game looked like it may have just sort of got out of RCB's grasp, but he came back into the tank and did exactly what was required, and that was take a wicket. But you sort of sensed that was going to happen. As soon as he got the ball back in his hand.
And that's where it becomes impressive, Amol, because not just is this a turnaround for Siraj from the kind of IPL 2022 he had. We have heaped praise on his power play bowling, but those 2 overs he bowled in the back end of that innings were also gun overs.
We've actually found a gun bowler here, and I think what he brings to the table is, of course, he gets those wickets in the power play, which is required by any team. But also what he does is he brings that energy. Whenever he runs in, you get a sense that he is going to pick up a wicket. Not many times bowlers do that. Not many bowlers you can say that they bring that to the table. Somebody like Mohammad Shami, you always feel when he runs in, you can make out that he's after the batter, and something's going to happen here. Similar with Mohammad Siraj, he's turned into a bowler where you constantly keep thinking when he comes on the screen, you stop and you watch. It's compelling to watch him bowl with the new ball, and now in the death.
And I guess what makes it all that much more impressive, Tom, is that while Siraj last year knew he had a Harshal, a Hazelwood and a Hasaranga firing, this season where RCB haven't had Hazelwood, Hasaranga's only just joined in, Harshal has been off the boil. He is leading this pack.
Yeah, I think he's enjoying that responsibility too. He's sort of thriving in that role of being the #1 bowler and the go-to guy that the captain throws the ball to. I need you here. There's nothing better than having that feeling of sense of responsibility and trust, and he's certainly got that. From today with Virat Kohli captaining, but with his captain for the season, Faf du Plessis, definitely backs him and gives him that confidence.
Yeah, and what we also saw was Mohammad Siraj getting a few good reviews at the start. That doesn't tend to happen always, so well played Mohammad Siraj. Let's shed some light on Vanindu Hasaranga. The figures at the end look expensive, 2 for 39, but right at the top, getting that wicket of Matthew Short, Amol, who in Shikhar Dhawan's absence was so key to this Punjab batting lineup.
Vanindu Hasaranga gives them an added edge, I feel. RCB have missed out on a lot of bowlers who've injured themselves in this IPL. If you take Josh Hazlewood, for example, then Reece Topley, and then he was replaced by David Willey, and they've gone in for Wayne Parnell. But at the same time, if you look at Vanindu Hasaranga, what he has done in the last 2 years in international cricket, he keeps getting those wickets. He's a wicket taker, and every team would love to have him in their side. He's economical and he's effective. So there you go. It's a winner all the way.
Impressive signs and important signs for RCB. Hasaranga finding his groove back.
Yeah, no surprise though, because he's done it for a long period of time. But he does add an important dimension to their attack. It's interesting to see teams trying to attack him, and I'm sure he welcomes that, because that then opens the door for more wicket-taking opportunities. More often than not, those types of mystery bowlers like Rashid Khan and Sunil Narayan and Hasaranga, a lot of teams are quite content in denying them wickets and just being quite happy to get a runner ball, or maybe just a tick over a runner ball, and then moving on and targeting another bowler in the attack to catch up. But it's interesting seeing Kings 11's approach. It was all-out assault, wasn't it, on Hasaranga, and the same thing happened the previous game to Hasaranga. But he's held his nerve and got some key wickets.
Yep. So good job done by RCB's bowlers, largely those two who you'd expect to be their chief architects, in Siraj and Hasaranga. But we do have to dissect this Punjab Kings batting performance, because we look at that scorecard, you see a 46 of 30 from Prabh Simran, you see that 41 of 27 from Jitesh. There is absolutely nothing else, and if it weren't for these two, this could have made for really ugly viewing.
Well, to start the show in the pre-match, I had said that they've missed out on Sikandar Raza. The guy, he has won you that game, the previous game. He's riding high on confidence, and you need, if Shikhar Dhawan is not playing, I've always been of the opinion that in the IPL you need to find players who are in form. Informed players are always in demand. And they've missed out on that. You need sometimes you need to ride on that form. And he could have been handy. I think he could have played in place of Matthew Short. And also if you look at it, Liam Livingstone, he is coming out of a layoff. We don't know how much cricket he's played in the last 3-4 months. He's suddenly come into the IPL with a little bit of a hamstring strain. Hasn't played the first couple of weeks, and then now he's in the hot seat. So just for a cushion, for his cushion, there could have been a Raza in the middle. But there you go. I mean, they opted for Short and they fell short.
We're not doing that again. Had it once with Tom and Sanjay, Amol. But Tom, you spoke about their approach, especially how they lined up against Hasaranga. It was a bit of a theme and a talking point with Punjab and their batting last season as well, that it was an evident go hard or go home approach. When it comes off, it's great. When it doesn't, it can lead to results like this. Where do you stand on how they are going about their batting?
Yeah, I thought today's batting performance was reckless from Punjab. I felt that it was a total that they should have chased down. It was a good surface. It held a little bit for the spinners, but not to an alarming point. And it just seemed that there was no thought or measure with their approach. I'm all for targeting boundaries and going hard, but I think there's an important element in run chasing in particular, and that is sort of understanding and reading the play. And I don't think many of their batters read the play of what was required at that time. The Mohali ground's a very big ground, and they could have sat in the game for longer and preserved wickets by just running the ball around. There's plenty of open spaces in that outfield where they could have got their ones and their twos, and then suddenly you know, that boundary ball is presented to you instead of you going searching for it. But it was nearly like they were constantly looking to swing themselves off their feet and hit the ball into the stands.
You know, the 2 wickets that Hasaranga got, Matthew shot, I thought it was a very reckless shot. Probably they must have pre-decided in the meetings to, you know, go after one particular bowler, and they decided that. But the game situation, you need to read the game situation as well. So the situation demanded something else, and Shah Rukh Khan, late in the order, he tried to go for a big one and was out to Hasaranga. So those 2 key wickets were picked up by Hasaranga, but I would also say that they were reckless shots.
From what Sam Curran mentioned at the toss, Tom, Shikhar Dhawan should likely be a few days away from returning. When he does come back, how would you like to see Punjab set about their batting lineup? Is there scope for Jitesh Sharma to be batting much higher than the number 7 that he's been coming out at?
Well, judging on his form tonight, you know, he looks, you know, looks in good nick, and certainly, you know, a lot of the players in front of him aren't batting as consistently or looking as fluent as what he is. So yes, is the answer to your question. But you know that Punjab have got some thinking to do around you know, how they stack up their top order. You know, what's the situation with Rabada? You know, is Rabada, if he has got some sort of bug or he's not well, hopefully that's a quick turnaround and he's back and available, because I think he's an important part of their team. You know, he's a genuine world-class fast bowler. Yeah. You know, you want him in your playing 11.
Right, so that is Punjab versus RCB. It ends in a 24-run win for RCB. Game 2, this doubleheader Thursday, is Delhi against Kolkata Knight Riders. Can Delhi Capitals finally register a win? They could register their first points. It's raining in Delhi right now. We don't know. We do know that there will be an inspection soon. The toss is delayed. But let's set up this game. Amol, one thing in common to both these teams is that the opening partnership has just not kicked off. For Delhi, Prithvi Shaw. For KKR, whoever they choose to put in there. That makes it a bit interesting. But KKR haven't felt the effect as much, you'd say, because Venkatesh Iyer has thrived at number 3.
He's certainly proved that what skills he showed a couple of seasons back in Dubai. He's riding on that, and he's come back to form with that 100 at the Wankhede. But this is a different pitch, different ground. You know, at Delhi, it will be you know, there will be some challenges for him. A tall guy, Venkatesh Iyer, I feel he likes to play the ball on the up, and he stands tall when he's hitting those big shots. Having said that, you know, for Delhi there are some problems up the order as well. You know, every time they've turned up, they've lost a couple of wickets in the power play. So that's been a real worry for them. If you see least runs for the opening wicket, Kolkata have got 70 and the average is 14.
Yep. And Amol brings up Delhi, Tom, and I know you've done a deep dive dissection of everything that's going wrong, but for the benefit of our viewers tuning in right now, their batting mix, what should be done to it?
It's a complicated situation. They've obviously had 5 games and there's been a lot of changes in their batting order. I think they need stability for one. I think the combination of 2 overseas batters and 2 overseas bowlers hasn't worked. So I believe they need to go with 3 batters and 1 bowler. Excuse me. So with that, I would suggest they need to elevate Marsh to the top as an impact type player. He's done that recently and he's shown some good form. They've got to throw everything at it really, but you know, there's 9 games left for them. They've got to win 7 or 8,
yep.
You know, ideally 8 of those 9 to qualify. So there's no point tiptoeing through to the next few games. They've got to just go for it. I would then have Manish Pandey and Riley Rousseau in at 3 and 4. ideally trying to keep that left-right combination in that first four with Warner, Marsh, and then obviously Russo being a left-hander and Manish a right-hander. Axar Patel I'd elevate to 5. I think he's in too good a form to be wasted down at 7. And then, just play with an approach where, there's nothing to lose. And teams like that are dangerous because they're not sort of, concerned about the outcome as such. They're just really living in the moment of that very ball and trying to maximise their impact.
Right, there's a lot more from Tom Moody, specifically on the Delhi batting combination and what can be done. You can catch that on our website and mobile app. Be sure to see that conversation Tom had with Matt Roller. Now, Axar the batter, we've heaped enough praise on him. Tom and others have suggested that he should be batting higher up. But let's talk about Axar the bowler, Amol, because there has been a stark decline in his efficiency with the ball in the last couple of seasons. That's concerning.
Well, if you talk about wickets, yes. He has been always a bowling all-rounder, which in the last 3 months or so, we are seeing a different Axar Patel. He's turned into a sort of a batting all-rounder, if you can call him now, in the T20 format. He comes and bowls at a pace, sticks with his strengths, that is line and length, just bowling within the stumps. It's a bit concerning that he hasn't picked up that many wickets because he is primarily in the side to pick up those wickets. But what he has done in the last 3 months is that he's just shown us the different side to his repertoire in cricket, and he's had the numbers over there. Amazing test series that he had. But if you see, even for Delhi Capitals now, I agree with Tom that he's been probably wasted at number 7. Needs to elevate, and again, I will come back to that point. You need to ride the form. You need to take those hard decisions sometimes, and just promote him so that you can ride on that.
Just back on Axar's bowling with you, Tom. Have you noticed any change in the last couple of seasons? Anything that he should look to fix?
One thing that stands out for me, and I don't know off the top of my head of this, but I don't think he's been bowling anywhere near as much or had the opportunities to bowl anywhere near as much this season he has in previous years. So it's hard to take wickets and have an impact if you're not bowling. It's also difficult when you're not bowling in key moments. We just talked about Mohammad Siraj, how he is the go-to person, and that elevates any individual, knowing that, right, I'm throwing the ball here because I'm required to step up, and help turn the team's fortunes. Axar Patel has not been offered that confidence with the ball. He's always been an afterthought when he's bowled his 1 or 2 overs. I don't think he's rarely finished 4 overs.
Yeah. There was a game where they didn't even bowl him.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that in itself tells you a hell of a lot around what he's thought of with regards to their bowling structure, and also how he would be feeling. He'd be walking out there thinking, okay, well, I'm an international bowler for India here, maybe not in T20 format, but I back myself as a bowler, and I'm not even given, the confidence to showcase my skills. So I think all that combined is really the reason why you're showing your numbers that you are showing, which are correct. But it's hard to dance when you're not invited to dance.
Fair enough. Axar's partner in the spin department, Kuldeep, had a quiet start to this season. Impressive showing in their last outing at RCB, 2 for 23. Comes up against an opponent he loved facing last time, because KKR were Kuldeep's ex-team. Both the games last season, 4 fours in both of them, hardly gave away any runs. So good for him to be coming into a favourable opposition on the back of some good returns in the last game.
What I'm liking about Kuldeep Yadav, especially in this edition of IPL, is he's bowling more, much slower in the air, and hence he's trying to give the ball a little bit of a rip, more revolutions on the ball, and you're seeing, that he's gaining in confidence slowly. We're seeing more of Kuldeep Yadav. He's come back in the international arena again. So he's trying to get things going in this IPL, and very glad to see him perform. Of course, the numbers against KKR, sometimes when you're playing against your ex-franchise, you're pumped up. You want to do well, and he seems to be that kind of a player who thrives on that kind of stuff. You see somebody like Virat Kohli always pumped up in the field. He doesn't need a second invitation, and I think Kuldeep Yadav is similar. He thrives on the responsibilities and thrives on those occasions where he's needed the most.
And a crunch season for most wrist spinners in India, Tom, because you look at the upcoming 12 months in white ball cricket, an ODI World Cup in 6 months, a T20 World Cup in just a little over a year, and India don't have their wrist spin spots locked. And while it's similar in the finger spin department, there's lots of competition there. There's not a lot of competition, at least up in the headlines, in the wrist spin department, so that makes it so much more vital for a Kuldeep this season.
Yeah, his form is important, along with Chahal. I think if we look back to the World Cup that was in Australia, Chahal didn't make the cut, which I thought was extraordinary. Not to have a wrist spinner of that calibre not playing in your side in Australia with those big grounds, it was a bit of a no-brainer. But it's definitely important for Kuldeep and Chahal to continue to show that form, because we've seen, you only have to look at the history of T20 cricket, and we've seen the impact that wrist spinners had on the game. We all thought the opposite at the beginning. We all thought, oh, this is going to be disastrous for spin bowlers, particularly your classical wrist spinners, but they've been so valuable, and they'll continue to be valuable.
Yes, Delhi will hope for the spin duo of Aksar and Kuldeep to kick into gear, as indeed most of that playing 11, as they eye their first points this IPL. KKR's bowling, on the other hand, has been helmed by spin. Their triple threat spin of Sunil Narine, Varun Chakravarti and Suyash Sharma. It makes for really interesting reading if you just look at the pace and spin comparison for KKR so far, because the pacers just haven't shown up. But Tom, on a day when it's been raining in Delhi, that threat, it becomes difficult to field all your spinners, or at least bowl them as much as you'd like to.
Yeah, a lot's going to depend on the outfield. Spin does have a role to play at that venue. So I'm sure that if there is a dry, well, if the outfield is relatively dry and they feel that the ball's not going to get wet, I still feel they'll throw all their spin options out there. KKR, that is, because that's the strength of their bowling. Their pace bowling department has let them down so far. Umesh has been lukewarm. He had a good IPL last year, but he's been lukewarm this year, hasn't had the impact in the power play. Lockie Ferguson's has been poor to date. I'm sure they're going to be having a real conversation around whether Southey comes back into the side for Lockie Ferguson, just so they got that control. And he's also someone that has got the knack of taking wickets in that power play. So he may well be in the playing 11 this evening if weather permits.
Of course. And then there's the other pacer, who is KKR's version of bowling all-rounder turned batting all-rounder, because they are hardly using Shardul Thakur with the ball so far, Amol. Has that surprised you?
It has surprised me in a way that Shardul is a wicket taker. Whenever he's played, he's always picked up wickets, whether it's international cricket or the franchisee that he plays for. But I also feel that he leaks a lot of runs, without a doubt. He is a touch expensive, but he gets you those wickets. So I would prefer. I agree that they would look at Tim Southey just to get that control in the first 6 overs, and you get that swing going instead of Lockie Ferguson. And Shardul Thakur could be used in the power play. They're using Shardul Thakur post the power play, and he's leaking a lot of runs. If you see one of the games where he leaked, the game turned on its head in that one particular over. I think it was against Mumbai Indians at the Wankhede Stadium, where he went for a lot of runs in that one over and just changed the course of the game. Till then, the game was in control.
Right. It will be interesting to see what plans both these teams come up with. It could well end up being a rain-curtailed game, which will change the dynamics of it a bit, which also means for the time being, I can't do my favorite thing. There's no toss, there's no team news. I can't put you guys and ask you for a prediction, but I'll congratulate both of you for calling that RCB game right. Both of you did get very close to the score. You a little more than Tom, and did get the result right as well. So yes, we will, like most of all of you, wait and see what happens in this Delhi KKR game. When will we be back? Well, if you want to know that, make sure you have the app, the ESPNcricinfo mobile app, that is, where you can follow all the updates and find out when this game does kick off, if it kicks off. And well, if you do see any action, by the time it pauses, innings break, end of game, we'll be back here on Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Timeout. So see you soon, hopefully.